1 o'clock on the 23rd day of Disamar. It's Blessings Day, which is the fourth day of the week. And when we last left off, Elliott had just watched Gryko finish his deal at the docks, and Valhalla had just broken into the Kingfisher compound and made an interesting discovery. And Jack was walking through Loopha, being followed by some of Kingfisher's men.
And Murgatroyd was naked.
And Murgatroyd, Murgatroyd will be dressed in the comfortable white cotton bathrobes that they have for recuperation.
Which will soon be bathrobes of slaying.
Yeah.
True that.
Tie-dyed in blood.
And you've been washed up, so the 88 that was scrawled on you with ink has been cleaned away. So let's do this one first. We're gonna do Jack first. Okay, Jack. So you're kind of heading through the crowds. You found your way down to the busy streets so that you would not be any place that was necessarily where you'd be alone and could get jumped more easily. And you're sticking to the crowded areas, although as being a Minotaur, as you're walking through the crowds, they tend to part for you, and people still move out of the way. I mean, word has gotten around that there is a Minotaur who's an adventurer in town here, and he's not necessarily a bad guy, but still the personal interactions you've had with people have been few and far between, so it's hard for people to disassociate Minotaur with monster, right? Parents still grab their kids and pull them away from you and things like that.
Nothing new.
It's true, nothing new. As you're heading down one of the busier market streets, do you have a destination in mind, or are you just kind of wandering right now?
I believe I was originally heading towards more artisan shops and so on. So someone that would be might be working on the ship that's going to be built. So like wood carvers or cloth makers or rope makers or that kind of thing.
Excellent. All right. Yes, you're heading in that direction towards the area of town that has the artisans, the people who actually do the crafting and building, and you are passing by several street side vendors as well. A lot of these shops have open frontages where there's things on display, and you can smell the smells of fresh baked goods and also smoked meats and various types of fishes and other fruit delicacies going on here. This is the height of summer in a big trading town, so there's lots of things on display to be sold.
If there's a particular fruit that catches my eye, I'm going to buy a fruit as well to eat while I walk.
Yes, there is, and it would be apples, because in your homeland of the South American style country, there's no apples down there.
Yeah, I'll get an apple.
Yeah, so like the luxury fruits that you see are like pineapples and guavas and mangoes and things like that. You're like, you're familiar with those, and you've had them fresh off the tree, and so you're used to that kind of stuff. But here, right, the fruit that people tend to pass by is like a really nice kind of locally grown apple, but for you, that's a rare treat. So,
yeah, I'll get a couple of those.
Excellent. Yeah, you buy a couple apples. The store owner is a little nervous, but when he sees you just want some apples, he kind of maybe smirks a little bit to himself that, of course, the cow man wants an apple.
Yeah. Pay him, keep on going. I'll continue to keep an eye out for sketchy Mr. Sketchface that I did not succeed in headbutting.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You're kind of munching on your apple till you get down to the core, keeping your eyes out for anyone following you. And you turn around at one moment and bump roughly into someone who falls on his butt and reaches up and grabs his throat, as though you hit him in the throat. And he starts to gurgle and scream a little bit, and you can see blood pouring out from between his fingers and around his throat. And just then his buddy, who's standing right next to him, says, "Oh my God, the Minotaur attacked my friend!" And he's pointing at you.
I'm gonna heal him and...
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna heal him and say, the hell happened to your neck?
All right, you bend down and cast your healing word, but it doesn't seem to have any effect. The guy he tries to scuttle away from you on his butt as he's clutching his neck, and the blood just flows out more. In fact, there's like a weird splurt of blood that comes out from between his thumb and his chin just as you cast your healing word. Make a perception check for me, please. You can see like some type of bladder, some type of animal skin bladder that he's squeezing between his hand. And he backpedals away a little bit and then kind of pulls his hand down underneath himself as he falls limp to this guy. And his friend starts freaking out and pointing at you, and he's going, "Oh, he killed him! Murderer! Murderer!" And as if they were waiting around the corner, a bunch of the goons that are Kingfishers, they have his emblems on their things like that. They step forward and they're like, "Oh, we'll handle this. We'll arrest him in the name of Kingfisher." And some people are, the people are just standing around shocked.
Before they get to me, I'm going to lift him up. I'm going to remove that bladder and kind of shake it to indicate, make the fake blood drip out.
Right. Okay. You bend over to grab the unconscious guy, and his buddy hurls himself across of his friend, and he says, "Don't you touch him! No, I'll protect you, my friend!" And he like curls over top of him. Do you want to try and throw the other guy off and still grab the guy who's pretending to be dead?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a no. What's your strength again?
My strength is 20.
Jesus, that's enough. Yeah, easily. You toss the guy off aside. He actually looks a little surprised at how strong you are, and you're able to pick the other guy up by his, squeezing his shirt and jerking and everything like that, and just lift him up. And the little bladder thing just fell unresisting out of his hand as he's still, dedicated to the act of pretending to be dead. But it lands on the street like a used condom.
Gross.
Does the rest of the crowd notice said bladder?
No, mostly they're just staring at the Minotaur, who's now holding this dead guy up in the air. I'm
going to quickly reach down, pick up the bladder, and, as I said before, shake it, squirt it, whatever.
Okay, you grab it, and it's mostly empty.
Hopefully onto him, just to, right in his face, just to kind of wake him up.
Okay, yeah, you grab it. It's mostly empty, so you grab it, and you, flick it, flap it into his face a little bit. And the guy who you threw is he is momentarily nonplussed, but then he goes, he pulled out his throat. Look at him. He pulled out his throat. Oh, God. Somebody stop him. And the Kingfisher guards kind of step up to you now. They've all got clubs and cudgels. And the one in the lead just kind of looks at you and says, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. I'm going to say there's 8 of them. One of them near the back is the guy who is tailing you this whole time. They gave him a surcoat to put on that has the emblems.
I'm going to keep on playing their game, but I'm going to be like, does this look like throat? Look at his throat. Look at it. And I'm going to try to get the crowd around me to, get, actually look and get interested, this isn't right. This guy's putting on a show.
Okay, make a diplomacy check to try and appeal to the crowd. But unfortunately, because you are a monster, there is some social prejudice involved. So yeah, you turn around and maybe a little bit louder than you had expected to, and a little harsher because you're unfamiliar with the Anurian language. Although you're getting much better every day, you still turn around and be like, "Look at this! Look at this! Look at me! I'm the captain now." So yeah,
Lies and slander.
yeah, lies and slander. To which most of the crowd kind of recoils a little bit more, and maybe a woman in the crowd screams, and the guards they step forward with their clubs and they say, "Just put him down."
If you truly believe this man dead, hit him, and I'm going to hold him in front of me.
Look, he's fine. Shake, shake, shake.
No. I want them to hit him so that, if he gets hit, he's going to react. But if they don't, then it's kind of like I'm calling their bluff.
Sure. You hold him up in front of them, and the guy kind of ragdolls still. Do you have him facing you or facing away from you?
Facing away from me.
Facing away from you. All right. Yeah, you can still feel like the tenseness in the muscles and stuff, but he's hanging there as limp as he can. And the guards say, "Look, monster, we don't go around abusing unfortunate dead people around here. Just put him down and come with us." And they spread out to encircle you.
Most real cops check to make sure that a crime is actually committed. You're not a real cop.
They say, "No, we're not. We're private security for Kingfisher. However, we're
Bullshit.
doing good works here." And, some people in the crowd...
Show me your papers.
All right, at that point, one of the guys behind you is going to hit you in the back of the knees with his club. He wails right in the back of your knee with his club, but you're just dogged determination, or bullish determination, makes your knee wiggle a little bit, but you hold your ground. You snap it back into place, and you do not fall over. Which startles the crowd a little bit more. However, they have not run screaming, and there are still people kind of like... You can see curious looks around the faces of the people in the crowd, as though, they also do not 100% believe this situation.
I'm going to keep on demanding that they actually check. Do not believe me, but check to make sure that this man's actually dead. In fact, I will then point to someone in the crowd and say, You are not one of these people. You do not know me. You check.
Okay, the first person you point to kind of shrieks and backs away, but you quickly change your finger to another, like a more hearty gentleman who's standing there, and he kind of looks at the Kingfisher security guards, who look back at him, and he kind of looks at you, and the Kingfisher security says, "All right, put him down. Put him down and we'll check. But he looks pretty dead to us." And his buddy's like, "Oh my God, he's totally dead."
I'll put him down and I'll say, "That man is checking."
All right.
Not you, because I don't trust you.
That man steps forward, and he kind of bends down, and he puts his ear near the mouth of this guy, and he shakes him a little bit, and he pries open his eye with his fingers, and he looks.
Do you know how to check for pulse?
He looks back
Just
up at you,
curious.
and he's like, "Pulse?" But then he kind of looks at the crowd and looks at the Kingfisher guys. He says, "I don't think this guy's dead." And his buddy says, "Oh my God, he can still be saved. We got to get him to a church."
I am a priest, I do heal, but there's nothing to heal.
The buddy points at you again and says, "Don't let him anywhere near him. Oh my God, he's just trying to cover his tracks." The Kingfisher guards guys say, "We're still going to arrest you, monster."
Do I know any of the priests from the time when I was helping with the vigil
Vince.
for Vince's coke ordeal?
Yes, there was 2 priests whose names you learned: Brother Davin and Brother Figgis.
Their church nearby?
Brother Figgis's church is nearby.
Then I'm going to try to convince, some people to go with us to Brother Figus's church to have this man looked at. I'm trying to convince. I'm trying to convince the crowd to make sure that, these guys aren't just being jerks for no good reason.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So the Kingfisher guards, they're all kind of looking at each other with the look on their face like this wasn't how this was supposed to go down.
I know I'm not a great person, but if I'm going to get in trouble, I want to get in trouble for something I actually did.
They look a little bit confused, and the people in the crowd seem to be going like, yeah, send someone to fetch a priest. And someone from the crowd runs off. A young kid runs off to go and fetch the priest. And you can see the kind of the leader of the Kingfisher gang swears a little bit to himself. Then he turns back to you and he says, it will matter not, monster. You are still going to be detained by us.
For what? If he is alive?
For being a monster.
Last I checked, one is not arrested for being a monster. And also, I am not monster. I'm just really ugly.
One of the Kingfisher guys kind of turns to the crowd himself. And he's like, do you really want this beast roaming the streets where your children walk and your wives are shopping?
Have I touched any of you? Have I been a threat to any of you?
That's when the buddy says, yes, oh my God, you almost killed my friend. Hang in there, you're going to make it. And he holds his buddy's hand and is claps the side of his face and puts on the show. And he then turns to the crowd and he says, it's only fortunate that it was us and not someone more frail like you, lady. And gestures towards some lady in the crowd who, kind of catches her breath like, oh my God, it could have been me.
I'm going to sit down beside the body, and I'm going to say, I will wait here with this poor soul for the priest to arrive to ensure he is all right. And I'm going to sit down.
Okay, both the crowd and the security guys really don't know what to make out of this. One of the guards even kind of lifts up his club like he's gonna bonk you, but then he catches the look of someone in the crowd and stops himself again. He's just not too long, but less than a minute later, the runner comes running back with Brother Figus, who's out of breath. Now, I don't know, do you remember the interactions you had with Brother Figus before?
It would have been mostly business on Vince's vigil, making sure that I was going along the same ritual as them, that it wasn't going to be disrupted, what the goal was. It was very religious professional.
Excellent. Well, because you said not to be disrupted, you do remember that Figus was actually there was a few moments where it was like he was trying to screw up, but then very quickly was like, oh, apologies, it should have been this word instead of this word, and but there was just always something a little bit off about Figus, especially if Gryco or Greco was in the room.
Remind me, who's Gryco or Greco?
They are the assistants of Marx.
Oh, so he was trying to play stupid?
He's trying to let Vince die. You think it's quite possible that Brother Figus is not a fan of the Rod Stewards.
But he was doing it more when those guys were around. But if it was just other priests, he was pretty much just doing his job.
Yeah, but lacklusterly. There was definitely something about him. Go ahead.
Was he the priest for Bresai, or was he the priest for Halen?
Halen. Excellent. Yeah, and you kind of remember that as you make eye contact with him, as he looks a little bit shocked to come upon this scene. He immediately kneels down next to the corpse, and the friend throws himself on Brother Figgis, hugging him and being like, "Oh, you gotta save my friend. You just gotta, and pretending to bawl and weep as he's, obviously hindering him from saving his friend, but he's in his sobs and moans. You can hear the distinct sound of whispering. Brother Figgis eventually shoves him off and then makes meaningful eye contact with the leader of the Kingfisher guy, and then turns and looks at you with a look of you're not sure what. Maybe a little bit of anger, a little bit of hatred, and a little bit of satisfaction.
I'm fucked.
Figgis bends down and he says, "Oh, thanks be to Heylin that I got here in time." He, incants some mumbo jumbo that you recognize as being extremely close to healing word, and he puts a hand on the young boy and he says, "Awake, awake, my servant of Heylin, for her blessing is upon you." And the guy on the ground kind of blinks a little bit in bad acting style, opens his eyes, and goes, "Oh, where am I?" His buddy immediately grabs him. It's like, "Oh, you're alive! Oh, Brother Figgis saved you! Hooray! Oh my God!" He said, "What happened? Oh, this monster! He just attacked you for no reason." To which one of the Kingfisher goons said, "It's true. He and his friends also attacked our boss, Mr. Kingfisher, who you all know. You have heard the stories, right? Kingfisher was abducted. He was abducted by one of these people." The people in the crowd start to nod as though the word has gone around that Kingfisher had been kidnapped and held against his will by one of the Rod stewards.
How did I attack you again? Not your boss, you. And I'm going to point right at the guy that, quote unquote, was attacked.
All right. He points up with a shaky finger at one of your horns.
Is there any blood on my horns?
No. There's some.
No, I'm gesturing to the crowd. Is there any blood on my horns?
The crowd they're all kind of talking amongst themselves. And one of the things you hear kind of going through the crowd is like, adventurers. Oh yes, adventurers. They're not from here. Oh, they're some kind of they're monsters. Now,
judge me not on my job or appearance, but on what you have here.
You see, maybe 3 people in the crowd are nodding. Yeah, that's right. But the vast majority of the crowd is just going, "It's a monster. He's a monster. Once a monster, always a monster. You can't tame a wild dog."
Not dog, cow. Moo.
Now, I rolled at the beginning of this just to see how lucky you were going to be, Jack. And you are a little bit lucky. Because at this moment, you can see down the end of the street, kind of through parting of the crowd or something like that, Elliott comes around the corner. Elliott, you come around the corner into one of the merchant streets, the vendor streets, and there's a little bit of a commotion and a crowd of interested people gathered around. And through a slight parting in some people, you can see Jack, who's kind of half sitting, half crouching on the ground.
No, I'm fully sitting.
Oh, he's fully sitting now. Okay.
I'll if make eye contact. I'll gesture at the crowd and shrug and give him a what the fuck.
I'm going to kind of motion stay back.
All right,
I don't want him to get caught up in this.
I'll approach the crowd and stand kind of on the. Actually, yeah, I'll approach the crowd and ask the nearest person, what's going on?
The person you approached said, "That monster attacked one of the people here, and these very brave soldiers very brave guards of Kingfishers are going to arrest him and take him to justice."
Oh, I heard that those Kingfisher guards were involved in that dogfighting ring from last week. Did you hear about that? Oh, it's nasty business.
Dogfighting is not illegal,
Well, really?
really.
Oh,
It's medieval times. People eat the dogs.
okay.
But I get it. Yeah, Elliott says something equally distasteful, human trafficking or something.
Yeah, sure.
Goblin slave trade, because you know that there was some goblin slave trade that was going on around here.
Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, those Kingfisher guys, they're involved in the goblin slave trade. We can't believe what they say. We can't trust them to carry out justice.
Make a diplomacy check, please.
Bonk.
All right, the guy is like, he's like, yeah. You're probably right, but you know, as long as they're taking him to the proper authorities.
I'm moving from like, I'm doing the Bart Simpson at the edge of the crowd, like they're trying to make a monkey out of you.
Sure, excellent.
Did you hear about the like? Oh, that poor cow.
Right, spreading dissent against the Kingfisher's people.
Exactly.
So yeah, the general vibe in the crowd is still, excuse me, that this monster is a possible menace, and someone really should look into this. But they are also starting to say that perhaps Kingfisher is not the person to do it. So the few times that the Kingfisher guys, come over to you, Jack, and try and put their hands on you, some people like throw, some lettuce or tomato or an apple at them or something. Back off. And there's a bit of a stalemate between the Kingfisher guys who want to take you away, Jack who's not moving, and the crowd who at this point does not want to hand Jack over to the Kingfisher men. And
Fine.
Okay.
Jack is going to stand up and say, fine, we shall go to King's Guard. And I'm going to go to someone in the crowd and say, I'm not going to have time for these, and I'm going to hand them the rest of my apples that I hadn't eaten. And proceed to go with, or quote-unquote, go to the King's Guard.
Excellent. The Kingfisher guys still are like, well, we're going to take you. And then people in the crowd are like, great, well, we're going to watch you. So as a big crowd, the kind of Jack in the middle, a circle of Kingfisher guys, and then the crowd of people to which the two con men have mysteriously disappeared as soon as the crowd starts moving, as well as Brother Figgis.
Where did our witnesses go?
Huh?
That's I'm going to say that aloud.
You're dealing with a mob. There's gonna be no logic done here.
Yeah, you say, where do the witnesses go? The Kingfisher guys say, shut up, monster.
I'm trying to plant the seed in the crowd, like...
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You don't actually go that far, as though the Royal Anurian Guards were already on that way. You meet a small squad of 6 Royal Anurian Guards in their shiny armor with the Anurian royal crest on it, and they have, I guess 2 of them in the group have spears, and the other 2 just have their long swords and shields and stuff like that. But they, of course, stop and do the whole, what ho, citizens, and the Kingfisher guys, they seem like really kind of defeated and pissed off at this moment. They're kind of cursing each other and cursing under their breath, and it's some of the citizens who actually do most of the speaking, to which point, when they hear that something possibly underhanded has gone down with this Minotaur, the spears come out and they get leveled at you, and the Anurian Royal Guards are going to arrest you, Jack.
Yep. When they show up, my hands will already be up as though ready to be arrested.
Excellent. They ask you to lower your hands behind your back, and they shackle you there. They strip off any obvious weapons, which would be your axe, and I think that's it.
Let me double check. I might have a knife. Actually, no, my knife would be in my adventurer's pack.
Okay, excellent. And yeah, they take you to the fort, the Anurian Royal Guard fort.
Yep.
Beauty. Elliott, what would you like to do?
I'll step forward and address the which captain, which guard is more in charge.
I'm going to kind of shake you, indicate back off, at least until we get to the fort, because I don't like
No, we're at
you
the
being
fort.
around.
This
Yeah,
hand-
this
is-
handoff is
okay.
happening at the fort now.
Yeah, we're at the palace, right?
No, just a local detachment.
Oh, like the brig or the guard house, whatever.
Yeah, the guardhouse is a good is a better term for it than fort. It's it's quite large. It's maybe takes up 3/4 of a block, but it's still not it's not a huge fort.
Yeah, I'll speak to the whichever guard is in charge there.
All right, there is a guy there, and he says, yes, we'll take all of your statements. There's a lineup of citizens who are getting questions. Like, what's your story? What did you see happen? What's this going on? And taking down names, everything like that. Are you gonna wait in that queue, or are you gonna demand to see someone higher up?
I'm just gonna ask: is he getting held right now?
He kind of looks you up and down. He says, "What's it to you?"
Legal representation of party of adventurers. This man is in Valhalla Kazam's party.
Okay, he kind of rolls his eyes at that, adventurers, and then especially when he hears Valhalla Kazam, he just kind of shakes his head and he says, "All right, look, we have to process this and get all the paperwork filed and everything like that. You know what? You can come and speak to your client in 2 hours."
Thanks. Okay. I'll be back, and I'll leave and head to the palace.
All right. Valhalla, you just landed inside the courtyard of the Kingfisher Estates, right next to the wagon with the after a minute or so of looking at it, you recognize the crest on the side of this cart as belonging to the Baracht family, the elves who you encountered in the Salwood.
I'd never encountered them in the Salwood.
You kind of did. The rest of the party had huge dealings with the Baracht family, so
I would have complained about it at length.
And they were present, quite present and obvious when Herpes got arrested. So you would have seen them then. Whether or not Valhalla knows off the top of his head that it's the Baracht family crest, you're like, hey, that's the crest that was on that wagon that was outside with those goons in it when Herpes got arrested, and they were all pretty pissed that Herpes got arrested and they didn't get to take him with them.
All right, but are they pissed at Herpes or are they pissed at all of us?
That would be a thing that Valhalla might not know. On the long trip from the Salwood to here, Elliott was talking about them a lot. And, you know what? Why not, Elliott, just have your quick rant on the Baracht family as though you were doing it on the road from here to there so Valhalla can get an idea.
Oh my god, these guys, they're like super racist, and they go, oh, this fancy house, I could put out a house fire in my stables because I can just turn on a storm cloud. They're disgusting, they're like the upper class, they can't be touched by the law enforcement, and the elves don't care. They don't care about that this, their whole city is being run by this gross, corrupt family. They're dealing with the drow. Oh man, I'm so glad I got my shit back from those guys. It was gonna kill me while I was being bound, like, oh man, I just how some people can, like we talk a lot about like deities and everything, and I'm not down with the deities and whatever, but but these guys just are so far beyond. And there was all this stuff like they had stolen from all these relics and everything in their basement. I'm just so glad I got all my stuff back. And poor Herpes.
Arwen, would you like to add anything about your dealings with the Baracht family on this particular rant to fill Valhalla in?
That was pretty accurate. They're pretty nasty people. We were trying to take them down when we were in the Salwood, but we got banished before we could actually get them out of any kind of power. And yeah, they're definitely bad people. If they're around, something bad's probably about to happen.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. So, at some point, Arwen, you notice that Vince, who's not with you right now, was better Vince had gotten better, and there was some talk of them having a fight outside the front of the palace. And I don't know, just to do another little retcon, on a previous evening, because this happened days ago now. Would Arwen care to ask the guys about the fight? Any details about the fight that happened outside the front of the palace?
I would love to ask the guys. Oh, what happened with that fight?
You remember that Greyheart guy who was kind of hunting Vince?
Yes.
Yeah, he showed up, and he was nasty. And Murgatroyd, put a crater in the ground in front of him, on him, and it didn't even hurt him. We had to fight him, and it was really bad. Vince almost died. But, yeah.
Did you guys take him down?
Eventually. I got this ring. And I'll show her the ring.
I was just going to ask that.
If there was a ring?
I need that ring to send it back to my family in the Silewood.
Why?
I'm remembering. If I send that ring back to the Silewood, there's a good chance I can get our banishments lifted from there. My father needs it to help him do something about the Brock family.
Okay, well, I'll happily sell it to you.
Pretty sure Arwen doesn't have any money.
That was funny. What do you know what its properties are? Like what kind of magic it has? Because we were talking about it, but we never resolved it.
No, she doesn't know. I'm pretty sure all you know, Arwen, is that your father crafted this ring, and he thought he was doing a good deed by giving it to Greyheart all those years ago, but it turned out to be a terrible, terrible curse upon elvenkind, and it would go a long way to redeeming your house status by recovering this ring and removing some of the stigma of its being given to a known elf slayer. And yes, it would be the leverage that your father could use to lift the ban on the Rod Stewards.
Maybe I can just owe you one?
Sure. I kind of owe you one already, so... Well, except now you owe me one for kidnapping Kingfisher. I'll work out a spreadsheet of...
Who owes who what?
Yeah.
And while we're at it, Jay, if you're there, Murgatroyd, would you like to add something to Valhalla's knowledge of the Baracht family?
Yeah, they're a bunch of arseholes.
But, they're elves, so...
Goes without saying. They're particularly arseholy.
Of all the elves I know, they're the worst ones.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so all those memories come flooding back to you, Valhalla, as you land in the courtyard next to this black painted carriage.
So I see this carriage outside. I see the door. I don't know, what's it going to take? Where's the door? Where's windows? How can I kind of spy in onto this thing?
There's lots of windows. There's lots of doors. It's a balmy summer afternoon, so most of the windows and doors are standing open. You can fly, so it's not a problem to get up to one of the higher levels and to land on a balcony or poke in through one of the windows or anything like that. But, there's many options for you right now.
Okay, I'm going to fly just kind of above the windows and listen in.
All right. You're listening into a couple windows. You fly around, and at first you hear some, just some chatter of nonsensical things, or maybe someone like a school lesson going on where an adult is reading to some children who are reading back very clumsily. And it takes you a few before you fly over a window that has very heavy red velvet curtains that are pulled wide open to let the summer air and sun inside. And you hear the familiar voice of Kingfisher in there. He sounds, pretty upset. And he's talking to someone, and you happen into the middle of the conversation, so you hear, well, get back out there and don't come back without him. And the person responds, what if he puts up a fight? Well, then you put up a fight. I gotta have him. I gotta have that Minotaur.
I got a fever.
I want his head above my fireplace. Right there. He disrespected me. He put his filthy hands on me. Okay, Murgatroyd. You are resting in a very comfortable armchair, enjoying a fine dwarven tobacco packed into a pipe that's too small. Like, these humans, they don't make the bowls deep enough in these pipes. But they, you're still enjoying it, as well as some very nice dwarven liquor. And sitting in the sun, for the first time, probably since we started gaming, so that's like in-game almost 2 years. Yeah, I think it's close to like 20 months since we've been gaming. So it's like the first time you've had your boots and socks off, and you have your little dwarven toes wiggling, all 9 of them, wiggling in the sun. And you can admire the fine, I guess it wouldn't be fine, you're admiring the coarse red hair on the tops of your feet. Looking down at your toenails thinking, oh, maybe I should trim those. Someday I'll get to it. When you can overhear, coming through a window upstairs, a frantic discussion with the king and one of his advisors. It starts off quiet at first, but then you kind of hear it get a little louder as the king says, come over here and talk with me by the window. I feel like I want to have some fresh air. Gets over, and for a second the king kind of leans out the window and looks down at you and gives you a huge wink as the person comes over and gives the information. Sir, we've been doing a little bit more digging since you've asked us about Kingfisher's son. His name was Lance Kingfisher. And according to some of our sources that we've spoken to, he did not actually get aboard the Stalwart Sunrise and head out on that particular adventure that his father said that he's on. In fact, we recently spoke to one of his cohorts who said that he went to visit Lance recently, who was not well at all. He's suffering from some type of terrible illness, but the family is keeping it very hush-hush so as not to display any sign of weakness to the other organized crime families. And the king says, that's super interesting, and kind of puts his hand out the window and gives you a thumbs up, Murgatroyd. He says, that's great, keep digging, and heads back inside. And yeah, leaves you back to your contemplations.
Sounds good.
You're just going to go back to enjoying the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not really doing much with no gear or anything.
Perfect.
Not too brazen.
Okay. All right, Valhalla. After Kingfisher finishes yelling at that guy, he spends a little bit of time yelling at 2 other guys about financial issues, something about moving, a bunch of money around, and these guys are complaining that Kingfisher withdrew a whole bunch of money from several accounts that, it probably wasn't a good idea, boss. And Kingfisher says, it's my money. I'll do with it as I please. But he's a little light on the explanations as to the reason why he withdrew that money. One of the guys very briefly brings up, hey, if it's something to do with your son, and Kingfisher interrupts right away and says, don't you talk about my son. He says, my son is my concern, and I will deal with it. He says, you all can just get out. And then they leave, and the doors close, and you can hear Kingfisher kind of stomping around his office and the clink of bottles and glasses as he pours himself a drink. You even hear the rattle of an ice bucket, which is pretty rare, but the richer families around here can afford to actually have ice. And then you hear the squeak of a wooden chair as a heavy frame kind of settles back into it. And it's quiet in there.
All right. The voices that I heard talking to Kingfisher, were they goony?
No, they sounded more Poindextery.
They sound elven.
Nope, they sounded human, but they sounded like the kind of voices that would come from people with glasses and ink stains on their thumbs.
Okay. It sounds like no one is in there now.
It sounds like that, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stealthily peek in.
All right, make a stealth check, please. You kind of lean over upside down and float downwards, so you're peering through the top of the door frame, and some loose change or something falls out of your robes and tinkles onto the balcony. You hear the chair squeak right away as Kingfisher turns and he looks right out the balcony, but he is not looking up, so you're able to pull your head back really quickly, and he doesn't see you. But you then hear the sound of the chair kind of scooting back. Cue the strong bad chair scoot sound, and footsteps as he's coming towards the window.
Okay, I hear him coming towards the window.
Yep.
All right. I'll fly up to the top of the roof.
Okay, you fly up and over the top of the roof, and you can hear the sound of him kind of come out onto the balcony, and the little grunt, fatty grunt, as he bends over, picks up whatever you dropped, and then you hear like a and then the sound of him retreating back into the study.
Phew. Okay. I'm going to check the other window, see if I can hear anything from his son or daughter.
All right. You fly around and listen into a few other windows. No, it's most of the windows are quiet. I'm going to say in one window you hear two maids talking to each other. Like, oh, well, perhaps we should use less starch in the sheets. I think that's a very good idea. Blah, 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 blah. And you happen back on that other window as the reading and writing lesson has come to an end, and perhaps music lessons are beginning. So it's a sound of a very patient teacher trying to teach a young child to play the violin.
I get away from that immediately. Okay. I'm gonna just stake out Kingfisher's window a little bit more.
Okay, you fly back over to the windows of the study. There's two very large windows. I'm going to say that it's a corner room. So I'll describe it, and as I'm describing it, I'll draw it for you here. So the house is like this. It's a square type house, and this particular study is in the corner. So there'd be a window on the south facing side and the west facing side, and then the very corner has a balcony that sticks out around it. So the balcony is 3/4 of a circle, and there would be a large kind of French door with glass in it. That's a double French door, which right now is standing wide open on the balcony, and that's where you dropped your change, was to tinkle onto the actual balcony like that. So you can peer in through the large double French door or through the windows facing south or facing west.
I want to be floating right above whatever window he's closest to.
All right. You're not sure because it's gone very quiet in the study now.
All right, then I'll just hang above this window.
All right, the window to the south. All right, you're hanging out above that window, and you can't really hear anything, but you smell the faint scent of tobacco in the air. Are you just waiting?
Yeah, I'll just wait. I'll stake out here for a sec.
Okay. You are just hanging out. When all of a sudden, actually at the other window facing west, you hear the sound of curtains being drawn dramatically aside, as though someone was hiding behind a curtain, and you can hear the window shutters bang a little bit, as though someone violently has thrust their head out the window, looking out. And then you can hear and then the footsteps quickly run across the room, coming to the window that you are floating above.
Oh shit! All right, I fly up above again.
All right. Yeah, you hear this time the curtains here being, manipulated aside. They're already open, but, someone who's large and blustery pushing their way through the curtains, and you can hear like a and you see the faint puff of some smoke as though someone was smoking a cigarette and exhaled coming from the window directly underneath here. And then the footsteps sound as though they're going to the balcony, and Kingfisher exits onto the balcony and begins pacing around back and forth as though he's looking around the house. And, as he kind of comes around the corner, you fly back out of sight a little bit, and he's now patrolling around on the circular balcony.
Okay.
After a little bit of pacing, he flicks his cigarette butt off the edge and goes back into the study.
I'll fly down to the balcony and try to spark up a conversation with Kingfisher.
Okay. You fly down, which he, is a little bit startled, and he reaches into his housecoat and pulls out a short, squat wand that is made of like a very fancy type of wood and has arcane glyphs engraved on it. And he points it at you. And then when he sees it's Valhalla, because you guys had some nice interaction before, he says, Christ, Valhalla, you just can't sneak up on a fella like that in his own house. A king has to defend his castle.
That I understand, and I wish this snooping around wasn't necessary, but I know that our party has gotten in quite a bit of trouble.
He says, yeah. He says, quite a bit of trouble. You understand that a fella just can't be disrespected in the way that you disrespected me and not expect some type of payback. Actually, to be honest, sent some gentlemen your way. I can see, though, by the fact that you're walking around, that they didn't do exactly what I told them to do.
Yes, and maybe that's what I've come to talk to you about.
Okay.
You see,
Come in.
I know.
Have a seat. I suppose.
Can't we just have a quick conversation right here?
It's nice. It's a sunny day. Here, he goes over to behind one of the doors and pulls out like a folding wooden chair and unfolds it. Puts one down for you, unfolds one, and puts one down for himself. He sits down and pulls a silver cigarette case out of his smoking jacket and offers you a cigarette.
All right, yeah, I take it. I'll light it up.
Perfect. The lights went up too. It's good. It's like very rich, wealthy tobacco. He sits down and enjoys the smoke. Gestures for you to continue.
Well, I'd like to put a stop to this. And I know your true problem lies with our Minotaur and the girl.
He pinches the bridge of his nose, and for a minute, for the first time, really, you get a good look at this guy, and he shows his age at this point. He's old. Older, and like late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in that neck of the woods. And he's unshaven at this point, and his eyes are red-rimmed, as though he hasn't slept. And, in his hand that is holding the cigarette, you see a little bit of a tremor, as though he's exhausted and tired. And he says, look, Valhalla, you're a straight shooter, so I'm going to shoot straight with you. I'm tired, too. I'm tired of all this dirty business. And I need those stones. I need them, Valhalla. And he looks up at you for the first time, meeting your eyes, and you see sadness, a real human there. A real human with problems, deep, deep problems. I gotta have them. It's very important. And you and your friends just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I just need those stones so bad.
And what are the consequences?
He ashes his cigarette, takes a drag off of it, and says, "My son is very sick. Now you can't breathe a word of this to anyone. And he's going to die unless I can get the treatment for this magical illness that is cursed upon him. God only knows where from. I blame myself for my dabblings with the arcane." He pats the little squat magic wand that he's got sitting on his arm rest. He says, "It wouldn't be me, of course. It wouldn't be my son who pays. But there's only one cure. I need the venom. I need the venom from a drow spider. And the only way I can get it is by dealing with these elves from the Silewood, who say they have connections, and they will only deal with me if I pay them with these stones, these dark stones that I didn't even know anything about till I started looking into cures for this illness. So to find the stones, I had to pay Marks. Marks got the money. God only knows what. It's an assassination thing. He's got a beef with the king. I don't give a shit. I just need those stones so I can get the venom and save my son. Do you know what it's like to have kids, Valhalla? A father and his love for his son? Do you know what that's like? Do you?
I don't really show like I really understand.
He says, a father...
I look for the words and they don't come.
A father would do anything for his son. A father would die for his son. A father would kill for his son. And right now, standing between me and my son, is you and your friends, for some reason, who have stuck their nose in this. I don't know why. I don't know. Because I gave some money to Marks. Now, your friends have decided that my son has to die for that. And I can't let that stand. Valhalla, I cannot let that stand. Now, I was going to have them take one of your legs. But I like you. Go ahead.
I just stammer. What I said was what I meant. I'm just terrified by this.
You let me go, and I appreciate that. And that's the reason why I'm not gonna hang your fucking head on the wall next to that Minotaur and that crazy elf bitch who grabbed me in the first place. But everyone associated with them has to pay. That's the rules. You know, you get into my line of work, there's certain rules. You can't show weakness. That's the reason why I can't talk about my son. I can't show weakness because of those goddamn Bowery boys are standing there. They're waiting. Slightest sign of weakness, they're going to move in on my territory. They're going to steal my men. I have to rule with an iron fist here. And so, I have to have a display of force against you and your friends. That crazy elf bitch. She's got to go. Valhalla, she's got to go in order for me to keep what I've got here. To keep this, he gestures around him, to keep my family living in the life they've become accustomed to. My wife, my God, you don't know. Valhalla, you don't know. I know you don't have a wife because you're a happy man. So it's obvious to me you ain't got a wife. So, Valhalla, I need those stones. And your friends have got to pay. They got to pay. He says, look, okay, you just got to get out of town. You got to go. All of you. You just got to go. And I'll take the Minotaur's horns. You cut off his horns, you bring him to me, he can live. I don't know what we can do about that crazy elf bitch. I don't know. Something drastic's gotta happen. You tell me. You tell me, what can we do about her?
I don't know. To be honest, I didn't want to get caught up in her antics since day one. And I don't know why or how our friends decided that she would be someone to partner with. But here we are, and this is the consequences of my friend's actions and my actions for allowing this to happen. So, is there... What do you need to prove that she's dead? And I could just get her out of town, and she doesn't need to be involved with this at all. We'll get your stones. We'll help your son. But we just want to get out of here alive.
He says, I really appreciate this, Valhalla, and I can tell that you want to do right by your friends, by your traveling companions, whether they're your friends or not. I understand. But she tried to, consciously or unconsciously, take something most dear to me, something that I cannot even think about living without. So I have to tit for tat. What is it that she cannot live without? That is what I must take.
I know she's done actions. She's on a quest for her father. She's trying to return to her home. She's a follower of God.
He says, I know a few things. And I've never seen that holy symbol before. He opens his case again and draws out another cigarette. He looks at it like, I shouldn't, but I'm having a stressful day. He puts the cigarette in and lights it again. He exhales and his shoulders droop as though it's a nice little relaxing. He's like, a son to a father is almost a religious relationship, like that of a god to his most devout follower. In this instance, I hold my son in the same plane as I would hold a god. I worship him. He's brilliant. One day he's gonna surpass me. Oh my God. You never seen smarts like this kid's got. Okay. You bring me her holy symbol, and I'll let you get her out of my town. She can walk away.
And if you can't get it?
An example has to be made, Valhalla. And if you flee, disappear in the night, my men will have questions. They'll demand answers, and retribution has to be found. And if it can only be found in some pointy ears on a necklace, then the other elves in Loopha will have to pay the price for your friend.
I will get the religious symbol. And if I can't get the symbol, I'll give you the girl.
Valhalla, you're a good man, you know. You're a good man. And someday, this all blows over, my son is fit and hale again. We're going to have you over. We're going to have you here. We'll put on one of your concerts right here in my house. Just like the king did up at his palace, but we'll do it right. You're a good man, Valhalla Kazam. I've always said that.
And how do I get this to you?
I said, just fly in here. Fly in here on your magical wings of gold. He said, maybe knock next time, though, instead of peeping in my windows and giving me a fright. You know, this old ticker, and he taps his heart. He says, can't take scares like that.
I smirk. And your stones. Where are the rest of your stones, and how do I get those?
He says, you know, ever since that your idiot friends brought me the incomplete bag to my house, brought it to my house like an insult to me. I had my boys go back to the Fwink Manor, the villa up there on the hill, and they tore it apart. God damn it, they tore that place right to the ground, and there was no stone in the rubble, Valhalla. So one of your friends has it. One of those people you travel with is pulling a dirty double deal on you. And if they didn't talk to you about it, then that is unconscionable, Valhalla. You gotta do something about this. Get your ducks in a row. Get all of your team pulling the same direction. Otherwise, you're just gonna tear yourselves apart.
That bitch. She did this. She put us in danger again after we trusted her the first time.
Oh, that's not good, Valhalla. You gotta take control of your team. Sounds like you lack good, solid leadership, Valhalla. It's time for you to put your foot down and let them know who calls the shots.
I want her dead, but I can't be seen as a killer. I mean, I've got a reputation to uphold, and who's a leader when they kill their followers?
So that's true. It's true. You got to protect your own people.
Well, I guess I'm coming to you. How do I deal with this? She's betrayed us twice. I can't have that kind of debauchery in my party.
He says, well, here's what you can do. We'll arrange a little ambush. If you can get her alone to such and such a place, let's say the pier. There's an old dock at the end of the pier. The pirates use it for smuggling in and out. It's usually empty. You know, we'll arrange for it to be open. You tell her that you got some kind of clue down there and you need her to come with you. You get her there alone. And we'll take care of the rest. You can tell your friends that you got separated, or, you know, she ran off to go do something. It sounds like she's a bit of a loose cannon anyway, Valhalla. You could just tell your friends something and make up something. They'll believe it. Well, Valhalla Kazam doesn't lie. We'll take care of the rest. Valhalla, you don't even have to get your hands dirty. We'll do it for you. It's not a problem.
Okay. And when does the strike happen?
We'll do it tonight. I know. Last night was the new moon. It'll be plenty dark down there. Why don't we say around midnight tonight? I'll arrange for my boys to be in that warehouse, the old smuggling warehouse at the end of the dock. You just get that crazy elf bitch there. We'll take care of the rest, Valhalla. You never need to worry about another thing.
I fly off.